when we talk about DNA generally, I see that it has a kind of acquired a negative connotation for the people in our communities. That once you mention it, especially women, we say no, don't go to us. To us, that's it. But it has other advantages apart from the legal aspect of whether you are the mother or the father of a child.
The news release very recently that happened in the family of MQ Abiola, where he had up to 120 kids, and 66 of them were not his, and 54 were his. I mean, even they're up to 50, they stood too much for one man. But if you read the article very well, when the son was talking about it, he said clearly that the father wasn't the one going after these women. These women were the one coming after him because he was very affluent and he has so much money. And these ladies will come in, and whenever they come, they'll give themselves to him. He will have an affair with them, and they will have kids for him. Some of them still have extramarital affairs. I mean, this is a clear example of what happened. I'm sorry he doesn't like whatever the Bible, but I have to make reference to King Solomon. He wear this, according to the claim, he had 300 wives, 300 concubines. That's to tell you how the life of a king is. I mentioned sometime earlier that this paternity fraud has been there from the creation of man existed. You can see that, I can tell you that if Solomon, out of those 700 concubines he had, and he had kids, almost half of those kids will not be Solomon's kids. They'll still have people, because concubines are not wives.
We should go back to DNA testing in the Bible.
No, I'm trying to tell you that DNA testing is not telling us that you guys, men, are being deceived a lot into accepting kids that are not theirs. Even if and you might be surprised that men are even accepting kids from their cousins, even their blood brothers.
Now, the man may not know, but because probably he's been there, maybe somebody's been married for 4 years, 5 years, and firing blank, and the wife can say, okay, let me try out something there, and goes out there
and then
strikes the match, and the thing catches fire. As she comes home, how do you treat that kind of
I think
woman?
We should be able to ask this question. How do you think the man wouldn't know?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Glascast podcasts on this wonderful episode. It's going to be a continuation of the episode we started last time, the DNA testing and paternity fraud. And we'll look at it from different angles in this episode. We'll look at the medical implications, the use of it for crime detection, the political implications, the family implications, the cultural implications. We're going to look at it from a holistic perspective. You know, usually when we talk about DNA testing, what comes to mind is only, use it to catch cheating husbands and cheating wives. But tonight, we're going to look at it holistically and hope that we'll bring you a very intellectual discussion and information in that regard. And I have able-bodied and competent hands in the studio to analyze and to bring us simulating discussion in that aspect. And to my far left is Barrister Ikenna Njoku, who will be leading us in the legal angle and the legal implications and ramifications of that. And to my immediate left is Dr. Dan, who is a forensic expert. He will be leading us in the medical and the criminal aspect of it. He is a forensic expert and is also knowledgeable in crime and crime detection and crime prevention. So sit back and enjoy yourself, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all. I would start off right away with Dr. Dan by my immediate left. And Dan, please, could you talk us through the issue of DNA testing and the use of DNA testing in medical science in terms of using it to detect diseases and improve the medical field, like curing diseases and detecting early detection of disease. How does that help, or how do you think that can be used?
All right. Thank you very much. At least, though, if we are to narrow down for our discussion today on paternity fraud and testing, that's going to be it. But if we're going to go into medical aspects, it's going to be very, very, very broad. You understand? Like, I'll just give you an instance. Like, we've used DNA on, let me just say molecular, whether DNA or RNA, you can see the role it played during the COVID-19 PCR testing. And that particular way is actually to test if the gene is present, the COVID-19, and which I was privileged to be among the scientists who worked at the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital to be able to do the COVID-19 test and trace in the whole of Scotland and northern England. So as you can see, it could help to detect diseases. And I don't want to go too much into technicalities like that, but I just want to say almost any kind of, whether it's sickle cell anemia, though genotype can really do that. But talking about some kind of diseases like cystic fibrosis and Down syndrome, like for instance, we had Down syndrome, Klinefelter syndrome, testing genetic abnormalities. These things have been helping DNA has been applied for detection of diseases as well. But today, I'm like I said,
Now,
if we're going to
so-
go into that, we'll be deviating from
Yes,
our
what
topic a bit.
I want us to understand and agree is that a lot of times, especially from where we are coming from, when we talk about DNA testing, is always the issue of to identify who is the mother, who is the father. Was there a
for
case
paternity.
of cheating for paternity? Was
Sure.
there a case of cheating? Is there a case of somebody taking care of an offspring that he did not spermatozoa? Let me use that word. So, but from what you are saying now, there are much wider use of
For medical
for
application,
medical
it's
application,
it's
very
extremely very broad.
very
It's
broad and very wide.
broad.
And
My own work is not very much focused on the medical aspect. It's into crime detection, and I can tell you.
Don't worry, I'm going to
What else we do with that?
I'm going to come to that. I want to Barrister Njoku to give us an idea of the legal implications of DNA testing in terms of paternity fraud. If you can look at it from that aspect, what is your thoughts on it, and what?
Thank you very much. I think for the ordinary man and woman, especially people from our community, the idea of DNA is so important, especially in trying to find out whether they actually are the biological father or mother of their kids. But just as Dan has said, the issue of DNA generally, as far as I am concerned, is so important in our communities that they span across just finding out whether you are the mother or the father. If, for instance, somebody gets sick and it happens that that's a child that you did not father, and you take the child to the hospital and the child needs the kind of medical intervention that will depend on whether somebody is the father or the mother.
Right?
You understand? Right. So this kind of things might come in, and then you will realize that that is where the discovery of DNA we have to play a very important role in that area.
Go ahead, please. Sorry.
So when we talk about DNA generally, I see that it has a kind of acquired a negative connotation for the people in our communities. That once you mention it, especially women, we say no, don't go to us, to us. That's it. But it has other advantages apart from the legal aspect of whether you are the mother or the father of
now,
the child.
If I'll talk about the legal implication. If after a DNA testing, especially to test whether the person taking care of a particular child at a particular time is the actual father, the biological father.
Yes.
Let me use that word, the proper word. Now, what will be if it turns out to be the other way around, that the person who is taking care of this child is not the biological father? What are the legal implications?
The legal implication, first and foremost, in terms of the spousal relationship,
right,
will mean that if there are issues of inheritance.
Okay.
The man obviously may
Disinherit the child.
may disinherit the child,
Right.
but there's a very important point which I was trying to clarify the last time. When a man finds out that he is not the father of a child, biological father, and he decides to accept that child as his own and raise that child up, I think it works well legally where the man, let's say, is a good man and who has decided to take care of the kid. Where the man is not good, the reason I say this is because there are certain situations where you cannot enforce parental obligation
From
on
the
a man
man.
who is not the biological father of a kid, a child.
Right.
But where the man accepts responsibility to take care of the child, and then a child who is not his biologically, and then you realize that the thing is not legal in the sense that there are no legal rules to govern, especially in our society. Not here that we know that child protection is very, very strong. In our society in Nigeria, when a man takes charge of that, and then it happens that the man is not the father, the biological father, the biological parent of the child, the man, as far as I'm concerned, the man, for the child and the society to be safe, the man has to be made by law to have the obligation
Right.
to provide parental care,
For the child.
which ordinarily should be the responsibility of the biological father. You understand?
Okay.
Because
Okay.
if we don't do it, and it happens that a man who is, let me say, a social parent takes responsibility to care for a child that is not his, but it happens that there is no law to enforce parental obligation on that man. And the man, all of a sudden, 1 year after, 2 years after, that thing ringing in his head, after all, this woman was unfaithful to me, giving me a child
No,
who
don't
is
worry.
not mine.
We're going to come to that.
You understand what I mean?
Let me return to Doc. You mentioned that DNA testing, that's your expertise, is in the area of using it to dictate crime.
Yeah.
And we know that in civilized countries in the West, they use it a lot. They said they did fingerprinting, they did DNA testing, they found the person's match to be able to track criminals down. In fact, recently, there was a case that was resolved. A serial killer and rapist. The man is 97 years old now.
Yeah.
In the UK, he was
Yeah.
convicted of killing a woman in 1957 because of the DNA match testing.
Yeah.
Can you talk us through how that works and how that is possible? Because sometimes you wonder, how does this thing happen? Is it magic? Is it African magic that they do here that we don't understand?
For a particular case, sometimes we have court cases. You understand? I'm sure you in the law understand about what court cases are. And, those particular times...
For those for our viewers who may not
court
understand,
cases
can you
are
please,
cases that couldn't be proved because of lack of evidence, but was kept probably still in within the legal body until any evidence, any new
to bring it
evidence,
alive.
then they actually, probably start investigating the case again. You
right.
understand? So you have had cases where, for instance, murder is a very serious crime in any part of the world. And because of that, they actually have a lead, but they don't have evidence. We've had situations whereby someone was murdered. If, for instance, someone like Jack the Ripper, I'm just giving an instance, if you have some story about Jack the Ripper, if there was DNA, technology existed when he was murdering people in England, you would definitely find out that he would have been discovered by now. But what happened is, there was some evidence that were left, and this evidence still has the DNA stored. So probably could have been semen. If the lady, let me say, the lady was raped and killed at the same time, or it could be tissues. I'll give stories later. So if, for instance, those things were stored, there's a way in the forensic world we preserve them. It could be preserved in a dry condition or in a frozen condition, depending on where the tissue was gotten. You understand? Definitely. Then whenever you do that, so whenever they are kept in the forensic lab, after a time then the case is now reopened for,
Now-
whether revived. Then they will be able to call on us,
Okay.
the forensic expert, to go,
use the latest technology we have, do a test to see if we can get a match with whoever is the suspect. It could be in that particular case, that could be like they were arrested someone who they suspected must have committed the person. It could be the wrong person, and that person is still incarcerated, and they could actually use one or two probably DNA database and probably search it across the database. If they don't find any, then they will now come back and look for a particular source. But if they actually have a valid lead, but it's just to forensically prove that this person matches, then this one you're talking about, someone murdered someone long time ago, and I don't know the particular story, but in an ideal scenario, it could be they actually have someone that have been suspecting that the person, and records show that this person might be the person, and they didn't have any way to actually nail the person. So what they actually do is they will actually run a test with the latest technology they have, probably something like next generation sequencing.
Now, okay, what
If
you're
it
saying
matches-
is that this DNA testing of a thing is not like you just started today. Maybe it's been there 5 years ago, but the technology.
It didn't start today. In fact,
Technology-
it's been there
technology-
since the 1980s.
Okay,
Yeah.
so are you saying that a test could have been done like 5 years ago, and it did not match the lead? And with the latest technology,
It's not the DNA test done then.
Yeah.
It's like the tissues
Okay.
were preserved.
Okay.
You understand? Not the DNA test itself. So something of that time beyond that, it could have been they have actually preserved some blood tissues or some semen or some skin tissues. Actually, those things have been preserved that the cells have not degraded. And when they're properly preserved, once the case is, revisited, they can actually get those particular samples, the crime scene samples, and test them again to see if they can get a match against a suspect they have.
now
That's how
my question is this: if a test was done like 5 years ago, and
Yes.
there was no match,
Thank you.
with the new and development in technology, are you saying that a retest could be done with the latest technology that would probably match what was done 5 years ago? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, it's a possibility, but that's not the same thing. Like the way let me just explain something to you here.
Okay.
If an actual DNA test was done and you got full profiles, you got the results, you don't need to do the test again.
Okay.
All you need to do
So
is to
the
keep the data in a database.
So
in
the
a database.
technology 5 years ago doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. But,
doesn't matter.
but those cases you see where someone stayed like 20 years, 30 years, it became a cold case because it could be because there was no DNA technology existing then.
Yeah.
You understand? They didn't find this thing. This DNA technology you're looking at, it was in the 1980s. You understand?
Okay.
When
Let me come to.
became
I
very
actually wanted
popular.
to ask something.
Okay.
Here. Does it mean that there are no further developments in terms of crime prevention on the area of DNA?
Of course they are. We are still doing. There's new innovations. Like now, back in the days, like some years back when we were doing DNA testing, there's a technology called short and then repeat, which is commonly used in the police in the UK and the US now. Now we've invented a new technology what they call next generation sequencing.
Yes.
That does wide arrays of tests from what they call SNPs, short, single nucleotide polymorphism, and it also does YSTR at the same time, conducts STR, conducts what they call indel, that's insertion deletion. It does a lot of tests at the same time, even mitochondrial DNA. It can easily test, that test can actually test, even if the DNA has even degraded. Like you couldn't even get, if the sample like is a blood cell that's so degraded, you still get DNA from it.
result.
So the technology are so improved.
That's why I'm asking this because I know the
it's
quality of the tissue,
Yeah.
the sample,
Yeah.
that you normally get
Yeah.
will definitely be affected.
Yes,
You
if
understand?
it's degraded so badly, you may not get any
Now,
DNA from
I'm
that.
going to
Yes.
come back to you. Let me go to Barrister. Yours is more of the legal implication because that's your expertise. So I don't want you to give us the technical aspect of it. Now, on the issue of the paternity fraud, is there any criminal implication for a woman that was found out to have given a man a child who is not his biological child, that was found out through this DNA testing?
You know, whenever issues concern crime, it has to do with intent. Most of the offenses in our criminal law has to do with intent. Not all, because there are what we call strict liability offenses, exactly. Yeah. But when a woman does not know that that a man,
many of them know. So
they might be suspected.
Well, it's only a woman who knows who impregnated her.
Remember, during that time, the reason we are saying this at all is that during that time, both the social parent, maybe as at this moment, the husband, and whoever is the real father,
the biological father, had relationships with the woman. Yeah, but then the woman knows. That's why I said it's only the woman knows the person who impregnated her.
Only if there's a gap. Let me just give you an instance. If the lady slept with the her boyfriend,
both of them,
almost the same. They're like today, this one is telling she's ovulating. She may not know.
She may not know.
She may not know. Okay.
But if there's a gap, like she slept with a guy.
Where clearly the woman knows.
Because we've had instances where a brother and another brother, two brothers, slept with the same lady.
And we need to I need to discuss that.
Yes, please. because that's circumstance in terms of physical appearance.
They would definitely look alike.
They would definitely look alike.
We're not talking of physical appearance. We are talking of, if a woman sleeps with a man, her period of ovulation, she should know her window. I don't need to be teaching that to a woman. I'm not a gynecologist. So she should know her window period.
I know.
And if she does that, sleeps with a man, and knows that, I'm outside of my window period, and goes to sleep with the husband, and out of that a pregnancy comes, she should know who is responsible for that child, definitely. So at that time, the issue of intent is clear. So are you going to exonerate her that there was no intent, there was no menstruation?
It's not criminal. Remember that the things we refer to as crimes are the things we want to make crimes.
Okay.
You understand? So I think it will not serve a good social policy for you to go and be locking up women just because it's not a crime. We are unfaithful in quote. Maybe at that time they quarreled with whoever it was and decided to cool off with their boyfriend.
I agree with you. You can't punish a woman for
being randy.
But by law,
being randy is not a crime. Do
you mind if I say something?
Yeah, please.
Everything about adultery depends on the country. Over here in the West, adultery is not a crime.
It's not a crime.
You can't say that in the Middle East. Trust me. In
Nigeria, in southern Nigeria, adultery is not a crime.
It's not a crime.
Okay.
Even Lagos State, they have also abolished the crime of
in some parts of the Middle East,
bigamy is no more a crime in Lagos State.
In Islam, in Islam, in some of these countries from Middle East, you definitely find out that if paternity fraud is covered to an extent, might be a crime. The lady might be. We've seen a situation whereby a lady committed adultery and she was stoned to death via Sharia law. Yeah. You understand? It depends on the country, the jurisdiction or whatever. But we are only comparing the West. Adultery is not a crime, and there's no way paternity fraud is a crime. It's a civil crime. It's all about the man's rights, because you live in a country whereby they give so much privilege to women, and when the women actually say, this child belongs to this man, the man now goes the distance using DNA tests to prove that this child is not his and he doesn't want to, shoulder the responsibility. Then he will definitely use that DNA test as a leverage to deny taking responsibility for the child.
What I'm taking from this, for a woman who wants to do a paternity fraud should not go anywhere near the Middle East.
Definitely, this man will kill you. And sorry, we've seen it happen on television. They will actually kill you, and sometimes the law protects them. You understand? It doesn't protect the women that much. So if women are actually claiming all this right, they should be very, very careful.
Now,
the location they are.
Thank you for that important point. Yeah, crime is always depends on the jurisdiction. Whatever a country sanctions as a crime, incorporates it in their statute book, it becomes a crime for them. There are some things that are criminal in this country that are not criminal. Like if you marry another woman here, bigamy is an offense here. In Nigeria, I think in some southern states, I think it's section 370 of the criminal code is the offense of bigamy. So
Even though
that's
nobody has ever been convicted of
the
it.
joy, you is still another case, man. Have another one. So what moral justification does he have to convict
To
you
convince
of
another
a
person
crime of
of a
bigamy?
crime that he's committed himself.
Now, this because it's not a crime. Now, is it more of a cultural thing that people are so much angry about it, finding out that women, especially in Nigeria, that women are giving men, giving social parents a child from another biological parent. So, is it more of a cultural thing? Because it's like a wildfire now in Nigeria. Everybody is saying, "Let's go do testing. Let's go do this. Let's go do that."
Of course, it is. If you look at it in Nigeria, the way right now, Nigeria, like last time in our last episode, I said that Nigeria doesn't have social structure that supports struggling men or struggling people. If you don't have it, you don't have it. So we live in a society whereby the people who are very affluent or very buoyant actually take the advantage, and women go towards them.
Yeah.
So you see what the case, and this is a natural, this is a natural biological case. You
know what it means.
You can see what happened. The news release recently that happened in the family of MQ Abiola,
Exactly.
where he had up to 120 kids, and
66 of them
were not his, and 54 were his. I mean, even they're more, even they're not up to 50, there's too much for one man. But if you read the article very well, when the son was talking about it, he said clearly that the father wasn't the one going after these women. These women were the one coming after him because he was very affluent and he has so much money. And these ladies will come in, and whenever they come, they'll give themselves to him. He will have an affair with them, and they will have kids for him. Some of them still have extramarital affairs. I mean, this is a clear example of what happened. I'm sure he doesn't like whatever in the Bible, but I have to make reference to King Solomon. He were this, according to the claim, he had 300 wives, 700 concubines. That's to tell you how the life of a king is. I mentioned sometime earlier that this paternity fraud has been there from the creation of man existed.
Let me correct an impression before you. I will allow you to land. It's not that I don't like it. It's just that I don't accept it as a fact.
All right.
So when you are giving an example,
all right,
don't give it as a fact.
All right, but I'll give reference to that. But let me still give reference to that particular stuff. You can see that, and I can tell you that if Solomon, out of those 700 concubines he had, and he had kids, almost half of those kids will not be Solomon's kids. They'll still have people, because concubines are not wives.
We should go back to DNA testing in the Bible.
No, I'm trying to tell you that DNA testing is not telling us that you guys, men, are being deceived a lot into accepting kids that are not theirs. Even if and you might be surprised that men are even accepting kids from their cousins, even their blood brothers, as theirs.
Now let me take you to another point. In Nigeria, especially in my culture, Igbo land, there are names like Mwahiri, Ajunwa.
Yeah.
What means we don't reject a child. We don't reject a baby.
Yeah.
Wherever the baby comes from is accepted. And there are instances where clearly this man is impotent and is not able to father a child.
If that
and
one has been
the woman
established.
decides to help out. What is your thought about it?
Let me say something.
All right, say something there.
Why I like our culture is that it is a culture that developed from experience, thousands of years of experience. So our society developed in such a manner that some of these things have been taken care of by our ancestors. So there are provisions in our culture where when a man marries a woman and the man is impotent, our culture makes provisions for the woman to still be giving birth for the man. If it is discovered
via his brother,
but at least the issue of providing an heir for the brother will not be a concern. Our society has taken care of those things. But I know the question you are asking is about the man being impotent. I want to be clarified. Is it being impotent or being sterile? Because I understand that I'm not a medical person. I understand that when you are impotent, you may not even be able to perform at all.
Yeah.
But when you are sterile, you may be able to
Shooting blanks. Shooting blanks. Probably you release semen with no spermatozoa in it.
That was being sterile, right?
Yeah, you've been
so
sterile.
in that kind of
Now, what I mean,
impotent
whatever technical language you want to use, where
Yes.
the man is not able to father a
child.
So
Yes.
let's take it from that perspective.
So
Let's
if
not
the
go
man
in-
is aware that he's not able to father a child,
yeah.
and all of a sudden the woman is pregnant, of course the man will know that this is not my child.
Oh yeah.
You understand? In that kind of scenario, I think
Now,
the question.
the man,
So,
because
so-
you
and
know,
for a man-
the man may not know, but because probably he's been there, maybe somebody's been married for 4 years, 5 years, and firing blank, and the wife can say, "Okay, let me try out something there," and goes out there,
And then
the
gets in.
strikes the match, and the thing catches fire.
You
Now
know-
she comes home. How do
Yes.
you treat that kind of
I think
woman?
we should be able to ask this question. How do you think the man wouldn't know? Is it through medical? Is it through a medical test or probably through some traditional means? I'm just asking because,
Yeah, because if the man knows that
because
he
in some
cannot
cases
fire,
the woman can't conceive, as long as there's no technology to discover that the man is sterile, they will blame it on the woman in traditional sense. They will
Yeah.
think that
In our
it's the
society,
fault of
yes.
the woman, and that is where
Now-
the woman goes out and tries something and brings the child to the man. The man will accept it in order to cover up his ego. That happens in the traditional
Now,
sense.
you know, I
But
mentioned-
we're talking about a situation where there's technology. You have done your test. You've gone to the hospital. Now we are now talking about the modern society.
Yeah.
The man has done his test. He has discovered that. It's it's the man's responsibility to discuss that with the wife. You shouldn't shoot that away from the wife. They can go and adopt a child or do IVF.
No, now let me paint another scenario.
yeah,
Yeah.
The man is not able to impregnate a woman.
yeah,
The woman goes out, probably she has felt it somehow. We've been doing this thing over and over again, and nothing happens. She goes out within her window period, and that happens.
Yeah.
She comes home. She knew very well that at this time when I am fertile, I didn't meet my husband. I met another person.
Yeah. The man will
Then
definitely
some
know
years down the line, this issue of testing comes up.
yeah.
What is your reaction to it? Then the man now identifies that this is actually not my child.
Of course.
So
it
what-
happens.
So, what is your thought about it? Do you
let
think
me-
we should stone the woman, blame her, or what do you think should do? And also to the man, what do you think the man should do? What do you think should be the man's reaction?
Now, let's establish two facts here. If, for instance, now you say that the technology never existed when they happened. Let me say they got married I'm just giving an instance, they got married in the 60s or 70s, right? The kids are now grown. The man is aged now. And he now did DNA test. And DNA test may not be like he decided to do. It could be like the one I described about a very aged man who decided to have a kidney transplant, and they found out that his kids didn't match his own. Their DNA didn't match.
Yeah.
Probably genotype didn't match, and probably they cannot have a kidney transplant. That's when he now discovered that the kids the woman had for him were not
His.
biologically his. Yeah, we've seen that happen. It's been happening. In fact, it's currently happening. There's one about a lawyer. He blew up the whole internet. He was talking about. He said he was going to even sue. That he has asked his wife, and then the wife told her that she knows who the father of the kids are. He said that he needs to go and see the wife, that he knows the law. He's going to even sue the man. The man is going to pay him back all the child support he pays
That's
all
how
the
he will
kids.
win that case.
I know, there's no way. But he was very frustrated, you understand?
Yeah, that's
but
frustration,
this is a
obviously.
civil matter, you understand? Nothing is going to happen to the woman. The woman is not going to go to jail. It's just that he's going to have a social stigma. You understand? And in this particular case, the lady won. Clearly, is the lady's advantage. You've helped her raise her kids, and the kids have had a better life. They're not adults. They can take care of themselves. Even the man said, "I'm disowning you. I'm going to sue this man." He loses nothing. But the bone of contention here is that now the awareness we're driving at is now you now know this is what is going to happen. Why wait till when you're age? Why don't start the test now? Discover it on time and save yourself the heartache of dying,
That
dying in pain and disappointment.
To the
Yeah,
next question.
that's what we're talking about.
Do we think we should, like you mentioned, at birth, once a child is once a woman puts to bed, we do the testing to find out who,
I think Dan's position has been clear here. He's in favor of it.
right?
You understand? And my own position is I am in favor as long as it is not mandatory.
I think so that actually it should be made available. It shouldn't be made compulsory because these are very expensive tests to be done. Not everybody can afford it. You understand? But if someone says he wants to, probably you subsidize it, and it's probably once you subsidize stuff, it means it's readily available. I'll support that. Then you need to pay for it rather than the subsidized rate. The government can do that if they want to. But a situation whereby the government say that's not their own business, they're not subsidizing anything.
Now,
and but the government want to make it a must. Then if your government needs to make that a must at childbirth, then you need to subsidize and make it free.
I don't think government can even make it.
Government is not interested to do that.
Because it's more of a personal thing.
Yeah, it's
more
of a personal thing.
Morality. They cannot legislate on who I should sleep with or who my wife should sleep with.
They will not fight against it because there are a lot of, because I think in France they have actually tried to abolish the idea of having paternity tests in France.
Yeah, so I don't think for me,
France, so because the kind of emotional trauma it causes the lady when she discovered the man.
The person wants to go and do it. I'm not for it. Let the person go and do it. So, but now another thing that comes up is that once this issue of DNA testing comes up, and the woman is found out that the woman, the child has a social parent and has a biological parent. Yeah. The stigma is always on the woman. Why?
Of course. That's why it's called paternity testing. It's not called maternity testing. Let me get something wrong. No. The word here is paternity, not maternity. So which means if it's been established that the lady does not need to prove to the world, as long as she actually delivered that child and had that child in her arm, she would not need to question.
I'm not talking of the woman. The implication on the stigma is on the woman who is alleged to have, committed paternity fraud in quotes, that is giving the man a child from another biological parent. Okay. That stigma is always on the woman. What of the man who impregnated that woman?
Okay, let me say something here. Yeah. That's why I try to say that when it comes to sex, the gatekeeper of sex is the woman, not the man. Let's be very frank. You see that it's very easy for the gatekeeper of relationship is a man. We will establish that when two people are here, a man and a woman are actually in courtship and everything, the lady is always looking up to the man to say, "Oh, please, when do you propose? When do you do this?" So the man is the one in charge. He's the one who's the gatekeeper. And you see, sometimes when women are angry with their spouse or boyfriend, they withhold sex as a weapon. They don't let you get in because they knew that. So they actually are the ones who let you in. So the man makes the proposal, like get proposal of sex, like how they want to have sex, and the woman accepts and said yes. Now, let me tell you something. In this particular case, the lady gave her consent to someone who is now her husband.
No, but
to have sex with her, that's the fault of the woman.
The man knows that this woman is not my wife, and she made that proposal. Do you know
why can't the woman say no? Because let me tell you why the power of consent comes in. If the man
can you allow me to make the point?
I'm trying to establish why there is rape in why rape has always been an issue. We need to establish that. You should understand the power of consent a woman has. You can't 100% blame the man, and I have to make this proof because I'm coming from a forensic angle here. Yeah. You see that when the man says he wants to do this to this lady, the lady for herself has the power to say no.
Yeah.
If the man goes ahead to do it, the man will be will be sent to jail for rape. So for the sake the woman never said no, never resisted, that means she accepted. She must have thought about it. And mind you, women are fast thinkers than men. Before a woman accepts to have that with a man, enjoy it, it means that particular stuff has been built up in her. She must have conceived the idea. It doesn't just happen.
So can I ask something? The point you made now is very, very essential, very important. Can I ask, can this be a proof of a rape of a woman, for instance, 40 years down the line? The man
raped her.
The social parent discovered that I am no longer the biological father. And then the man says, yes, I couldn't speak up then. I was raped 40 years ago.
You mean the woman?
The woman, yes. Yeah. Says I was raped 40 years ago.
Yeah, that's a different case.
That's a different case. If the lady for herself was very timid enough to say she doesn't want to admit that she was raped, And probably, but we live in a society whereby we encourage people to speak up. Yeah, it's possible. You understand? It's possible. Let's just give for a scenario here. A slave, a female slave, married a male slave, and somehow the master. Let me just say they are not. They are the same color. They're the same color. You understand? Now rapes the female slave. The female slave thinks like if she tells her husband that she was raped by her master, if no matter how the husband tries to react, that they will still blame her. You understand? For letting the master. So it's either the husband wants to kill the master or the master wants to kill the husband. The woman would just probably withdraw herself. And that's the way it was when, you know, the way the society was in the past. Not in this current society, we have women speaking out now. So you find out that things like that could happen. And she will give the child for the master. And if the master doesn't show interest, like he wants to even be the father of the child, and the husband is showing too much interest, she would definitely, women are programmed for resources, who shows care towards them and show care towards the child. She will actually let the man have the child. Unless the man in the future now decides to run a test and now discover this son I'm raising doesn't belong to me. It belongs to my master. And the lady now opens up and tells her that I was raped by my master, but I was afraid of doing that. Now, this is a situation whereby it is a clear case of intimidation, and the lady was a victim. It's very clear. But if this is a different thing altogether.
Just hold this. Let me say something now.
Yeah.
You are taking it. You will understand the point you've made. Now, what I'm saying is, you know, some men go out of their way to convince a woman do everything. To we call it bar treasure. Do a lot of things
just to get in between
get in between her legs.
Between a married woman.
Yes.
A married woman.
Yes. Many men do it.
Let the quote here, married.
Yeah, obviously. Are you not aware of it?
See, let me tell you something.
No, let me finish. And now that man
you
goes
interrupting me. You asked me the question. You make me answer that, and I'm very good at asking questions. That's one thing about me. You are talking about married woman. Let's put the quote married woman, not a random girl. A married woman has been taken away from the society and betrothed to a man here. And why are men getting married? That's the question you should ask yourself. Why
men get married for different reasons.
Let me tell you, but what's the primary reason for getting married?
Well,
for us, in our society,
procreation.
For procreation, to extend your generation.
Yes.
See, let me tell you one thing. Men can marry for companionship. Men can marry for any pragmatic reason. That's secondary. It's for companionship. Men can marry for settlement. If, for instance, they get from a family, they want to get financial, just like some women do. But let me tell you, it's a man's primary aim, biologic prerogative, not from us as human beings, from all animals in the animal kingdom, marry to extend their DNA to the next generation. It's an insult and disrespect to manhood that you married a woman and the woman cannot do the primary assignment in which she is married to extend your seed. Then she now took another man's seed and brought it to your gene pool.
But look, it doesn't matter whether it's an insult or not.
It's a disrespect. Okay, let me just say it's an. You can't.
That's whether it's disrespect or insult. But the issue there is that
it happens. It happens.
If the man is their way to try and manipulate, to convince,
of the woman to tell the man no and tell the husband this man is making moves. Is probably making some advances towards me, and the husband needs to stand up as a man and resist the man. Help her. If the lady says no, because that silence she keeps, if she concedes it, that means she is actually thinking about it. We're talking about men's rear now. That you're having guilty intent means for you to have had that conspiracy of silence in you as the woman means that you wanted it. You want to enjoy this man outside your husband. That means you are naturally.
So, are you saying that a man who is going all out of his way to go and extend his DNA to another man's wife?
That's a man's natural biological prerogative.
Exempted from all blame and all responsibility.
See, this thing of saying a man asks a woman out whether she's married, whether she's single, you understand? Is a man's natural biological prerogative. It is the woman's natural prerogative.
To say no.
To say no or say yes.
No, I don't.
Let me tell you.
Now, you're talking of marriage. Marriage is the woman, not a human being.
She wasn't forced.
Marriage is
we will only talk about. I will only say the woman will be 100% exonerated if the man forced himself on her.
No, the scenario.
But you
that,
would have.
that Barry painted is not that of force.
It's not
Yeah,
that
that
of
is
force.
why.
Is that of you?
So why would I want to
Scenario
blame the man?
of
someone.
Let me tell you, I have to
Yeah,
give
to
myself
have a
an.
pleasure.
I have to give myself as an instance here. Let me tell you something. If I'm married to my wife has that duty to respect me. Not
You
to
don't
have
have
a
the you don't have
child.
the duty to respect your wife.
I have a duty to respect her
But
too.
you can go out for another
I
man's
would
wife.
not even want to even pregnant another woman in the first
Some
place.
people do.
But yeah, I'm getting somewhere. You understand?
Yeah.
But that's one thing you need to understand, because that's one time we're talking about paternity. I said, do we have maternity fraud in terms of a man actually impregnated a woman? Has a man actually gone and slept with a woman and got pregnant? That's the question we should ask. Can I as a man go sleep with a woman and get pregnant? No. I won't get pregnant. That means there's something in me that's meant to spread my seeds everywhere. Yeah, I'm trying to say, and let's be very frank. But you see, a woman herself a man sleeps with her and she gets pregnant. That means she has to carry the burden of the gestation period for 9 months. And she herself actually have to have a father responsible for that child. And she's privileged to have one. As a husband, there are many single ladies out there who don't have anybody who wants to put a ring on their finger, and they are ready to actually have a baby for someone who is ready to show them a bit of care. Now you have a man who wants to show 100% care, and you have nothing to show to respect that man than to go sleep with another man, bring in another child. That's the height of disrespect you have given to that man. And men value nothing but respect, not love. Claiming you love the man, but you're not showing that man that respect. That's the height of disrespect you show your husband.
I can see how passionate you are about.
Yeah, I'm trying to say, let's don't blame. You are blaming a man.
But they don't know the fact that this has happened.
I know it happens.
Let me make
I know
that
it
point.
happens.
Can I allow me to make a
And
point?
to make that awareness that the lady herself needs to know that this particular stuff she's doing, there are consequences to that.
Now, Doc, much as we agree that in Nigeria and UK and America, there is no crime for paternity fraud. It's not a crime. Paternity fraud is not a crime. Now, it takes two to commit a crime of conspiracy.
Oh, yeah?
It takes two to commit the immorality of paternity fraud. Do you agree with that? Yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes.
And when two people have committed this immorality, the blame should be on the woman alone. Is that what you are saying?
In paternity fraud.
Is that what you are saying? Yes or no? That when two people who have committed the crime of conspiracy,
your
person should
your
be
question
blamed.
sounds like a man raped a woman. Both of them actually had sex.
No way.
But you are not blaming. You instead of you to blame the man for rape, you are now actually blame both the man and the woman. That's why you're looking.
In the question of rape, there is no argument about the blame. The blame is entirely on the man.
In fact, before he gets to the gestation period, the man should be cooling off in jail. Before the child is put to bed, he should be cooling off in jail.
Now we now have a situation.
Now you have two people who have conspired to go and give another man a child that does not belong to him, and to give another man his own offspring. And you think the only woman should take the blame?
I think.
Is that what you're saying?
Let me tell you how the man would take the blame. The man will take the blame.
Okay.
Let me tell you to take the blame. The man has to own up to his own responsibility and father the child. You understand? The reason why it's not a fraud, you understand? Let me tell you why it's a fraud. Look, if a woman, like even take for instance, let me just I'm just giving an instance. Just let me speak. If for instance, let me just give. If a woman, for instance, she's married and she's not loving this man, and she wants to even look for a way to divorce this man, and she goes around to cheat on her husband, and comes up and says, "I've cheated." Deep inside of her, she didn't inform the husband, and now moves away with the man, trying to break up the relationship, and probably goes around and dates another man, gets pregnant for them, and that man takes responsibility of the child. That is a critical scenario where how it's supposed to be. But the problem here is, the man you cheated, you cheated with on your husband. You don't want to give the man the child. You're taking it to another man to father the child. Take full responsibility of the child. That is where the deceit is. That's where the fraud is. That is what we're against. We are not against a woman having her freedom to say, "I don't want this marriage. I don't want to stay with this man. I've been married for
But
this
this
man.
is the only woman that cheats.
Both of them cheat.
So and you are
But not
taking-
both of them get pregnant. Let's
And you
establish
say-
that line
the man
here.
should-
If both of
No,
them,
let me
I've asked the
tell you
question:
something.
can the man go cheat and get pregnant? No,
Now,
we're talking about who
the man
bears
should
the
also
baby.
be blamed. Should even take the greater part of the blame. Is this?
How?
You know, a lot of times
In
due to our
fraud,
cultural
paternity, fraud, we're
background.
talking about.
Let-
We're not
let me-
talking
let me
about
say
cheating.
something,
You need
please.
to separate
Do you
cheating
allow
from
me-
the
do you allow me to say
childbirth.
something?
Sure.
You know, a lot of times, especially in Nigeria, once this happens, is the woman. Let's stone her. Let's kill her. Let's do this. But now, I find it very, very amusing why we should blame women all the time for every issue of adultery, fornication, and paternity fraud. I read something the other day. A man, now I will just give you an analysis. When we are talking about family planning, usually the woman go and put this, go and take pills, go and do this, go and do that. But you know, one woman can only give birth to a child once in a year. But you know, one man can impregnate 365 women in a year.
More than that.
More than that. So
Men,
you see,
men release 20 million
yeah,
in one ejaculation.
you now see
That's
how
not just
how the culture
360
is
we're talking
skewed,
about. We're
skewed.
trying to talk about a whole continent.
It now gives you an idea. And when we are talking about doing family, what's it called? Family planning, it's always the women go and do this, go and do that, do this, do that. But the men who are capable of impregnating every day, if you're talking of birth control, you should start with men. If you're talking of paternity test, men should zip up.
No, we're talking about that one differently, but
it's not only the woman that should
but you're
take on the
mixing
blame.
two things here, barrister.
What I'm
You
saying
know.
is that if we find that this child is doesn't belong to this man who is the social father, we should go and look for the other biological father. And also
Can I say something, barrister?
Put the stigma on their head.
Barrister, can I tell you something? You are confusing infidelity with paternity fraud. Please separate them here. Because if you're talking about infidelity, we should blame men the more. But we're not talking about paternity fraud. Men have lesser of the blame. And I've made it clear, we're not talking about maternity fraud here.
Okay.
Paternity fraud, the fatherhood, you understand? Who is taking care of the child? That is what we're talking about. Who fathered this child?
Can I understand something?
That is
Are
what
they
we're
not
talking
related?
about.
Are they not related? Is it not infidelity
That leads to
that leads to
paternity
that?
Well, you are
In a greater majority of occasions, they are
yes,
related.
yes. But the primary thing there is the infidelity. The second is the paternity fraud. Like I told you that whenever we conduct paternity tests and discover there is a mismatch there, that the child's DNA doesn't match with the man's DNA, we've discovered two things. We've discovered infidelity and we discovered the paternity fraud itself. It's not just one thing. You understand? So that means in this particular case, if you're talking about infidelity on its own, that's a different matter altogether. We're going to talk about. But we're not talking about because if the lady was sleeping around and using protection without conceiving, that's a different story altogether. If the man discovers without solid evidence, we can sweep that under the rug. But we're not trying to say this is the evidence right here that this child, you didn't just sleep and he ends there, sleep with another man, he ends there. You slept with the man and I had the seed, and you still had the guts to bring the seed into the man's family. You didn't just say, oh, now I have seed for another man. Let me take this child to that man and probably break up this marriage from this particular person, your will-be husband, and move on with the man. You allow the man say, I can't take care of the child. He now took you to the husband. Now put the burden on you to take care of the child. You know, develop emotional connection, mental and financial commitment for a child that is not biological yours. That's fraud. That is so wrong. That's what we're talking about here.
Are you done? Your argument is so one-sided.
All right.
Completely against the women and in favor of the men.
It's not in favor of the man here. We're in favor of the man.
Let me make the point, please. You have passionately said how the woman went out there, slept with the man, and brought in a seed that doesn't belong to the husband.
Why would she tell the husband?
Then the man who was sleeping with her, does she not think that she can impregnate this woman in the course of the sexual relationship he's having with a married
Why
woman?
wouldn't the lady abort the child?
Question. The man, is he not thinking that
take
a
contraceptives?
natural consequence of sleeping with a woman who is not my wife, who I know is married, would lead to giving another man another child.
Your question
let me say something, Doc.
Every man who sleeps with every woman must get pregnant.
Doc, let me
No,
say
it's a
something.
natural,
Remember,
it's not a natural
it may
thing.
not happen,
It's natural,
but it's a likely consequence. Let me use that word. It's a likely consequence of that act. Barrister, go ahead.
remember that this issue of blame in terms of the woman and the man is cultural.
Exactly. I
In
agree
our
with-
society,
I agree with you completely.
we tend to blame the woman more.
More. Exactly.
I don't believe such thing
So what about
applies in this society.
No, it does.
You understand?
It does.
No.
It does.
Let's be clear. If you check very well in this our society, in Britain, you will see that the issue of infidelity always arises from the woman. Go and read the news.
You're
you
talking
find out
about
that.
infidelity.
Wait,
I'm not
yes,
talking about
I'm trying to
infidelity
connect
here.
it.
I'm
Hold
not
on.
talking about
But
infidelity
allow me
here.
to connect
I'm trying
this point.
to connect it. The man is always scared of hearing, oh, I slept with the woman, slept with me. Whether it's footballers, celebrities, all those stuff. It's always the women that want to raise the issue of,
I slept with this
I
man.
slept with this person. And you will see the person running helter-skelter, trying to save
A married
their
man
mind.
who-
Whether it's David Beckham, whether it's
Kai Walker.
Kai Walker, whether it's this other one that married Sherry, what was it?
Ashley Cole.
Ashley Cole. That's exactly what happens.
I have no business with
the question that I
infidelity.
wanted to ask, of course, those things lead to
Yeah,
all
those
this
things
paternity.
will lead, but
the question that I
once
wanted to ask is that this issue of
there is a
paternity
baby.
fraud is a very important subject in our society, but something causes it.
Yeah,
You
that
understand?
is what leads to
and
it.
if we check the kind of lifestyle that we are living now, men marry, leave their wives in Nigeria, come over here to stay, and then maybe once or twice in a year they will go to visit the woman and come back. Then the woman gives birth, and the man will be jumping up, only to realize 4 years later that the child is not theirs. You understand? So there is something causes. I think our concern
But-
is on how to mitigate this issue of blaming
No,
solely the woman. Whenever this
like I
issue
said,
arises.
you are mixing infidelity up. Let me ask one question: what stops the woman, the adulterous woman, from sleeping or having safe sex? Let's just be very frank. What stops her from not conceiving? What stops her from not conceiving?
What do you mean by safe sex?
Safe sex, in safe sex, that she can use protection.
Okay,
Is
no.
probably have contraceptives for a man who's not her husband. I'm just saying, in case that we want to go mad, like
Okay,
saying,
what stops
men
the man
should,
from doing
women,
this?
both
Okay,
men and women
let's-
should be sleeping, that we should not put any blame. Then both of them are sleeping with each other, and there is no single pregnancy involved.
Doc,
That is when you can say all these things. You let the man take the blame, let the woman take less blame. I can say, yeah, that's fine. But if the lady makes up her mind to say, tonight I'm sleeping with this man and I'm gonna have a baby for this guy, that is the woman's decision.
But you don't give.
We're not talking
you don't
about
give
we're not
yourself
talking
baby,
about
remember?
infidelity here.
You don't
We're
give
talking
yourself baby.
about
Let me-
conceiving.
You don't give yourself baby.
No.
You can decide you want to have a baby and you
And
don't
you
have
won't
a
have
baby.
Yeah,
No,
that means,
no,
that means she has been sleeping with a guy.
No, let me.
And the guy tastes so good, and because a lady can't just wake up one day and have sex with another man and probably just take. I know it's biologically possible, but that intention must grow up that she must have had the thing so good with this guy that she wants to keep a memory of the guy. And next thing she takes the
No,
guy
let me take you on something you said about what stops the woman from having safe sex.
Yes. If you want to blame the man, both of them.
Good.
Yes.
We can ask this question the other way. And keep in mind, in a month, the woman has a window period of less than 5 days to get pregnant. But a man whom you are advocating should not have same sex has the capacity to impregnate a woman every minute of the day.
Exactly.
What stops him from having safe sex?
Exactly.
Absolutely sex. It's very possible.
No, what stops him from having safe
sex?
sex? In order not to
Men do.
pregnant the woman and the
Men do.
Right.
We have seen. We have seen men walking around with condoms, and probably they'll say they want to have sex now, and the next thing they will just go have a condom. Yes.
So the woman that decides, okay, I'm going to, as following your own word,
Yes.
I'm going to get pregnant for this man.
That is solely
What
the
stops
woman's
the man
From
having
saying,
same
I'm not
sex?
going to pregnant
I'm not going to pregnant
this
this
woman.
woman. What stops the man?
What stops the man
Ladies
from-
and gentlemen, I think
You see the question you're asking
I
about the
think
man.
we may not exhaust this topic today. And Doc, I know you are passionate.
No,
and,
not passionate. We need to establish that there's clear line between infidelity and paternity fraud. If we're talking about infidelity between men and women, that's a total discussion. But whenever the idea, because having a baby is not easy. You're going to go through the torments, 9 months of gestation.
That's
Then the
the reason why you
labor
should
in the
have
house is
pity on the
another one.
woman.
So that the probability of you not surviving is still there, and
Doc,
you still
remember-
had that child.
Doc, remember-
you still survive.
Yes, but Doc,
for a
remember
man, and you're not.
When that
On
issue,
purpose took that child to another man
Doc,
who's not your father, who's
remember
not the
that-
father of the child, and who's supposed to be your husband, and you were supposed to carry the man's generation from generation to generation.
Of course, Doc,
and the
we
man
know-
has that idea, and you totally cut the man off from that privilege, and you still impose that child on him, deceived him that into taking care of child that is not his. I totally disagree with that. However, put blame on the man for any other thing. I think you are the woman. You did that for yourself.
No,
100%.
I think you're actually being so harsh.
I have to be very
and
real.
inconsiderate
on the women.
on the women.
And-
the reason being that
And have you seen how
takes
men
two.
react when
Doc,
they decide that's not their
you to-
child?
let's hear Barrister.
it takes two to commit this crime.
We know
if
that.
we call it a fraud, it takes two to
commit
commit
the
that
fraud.
fraud. And remember, whenever it happens, whether it's in
Why is it called a fraud?
4 years time, 5 years time, 10 years time, anytime it arises, the man always asks for the first question. So this woman was even unfaithful to me at this time. That's why she gave birth to a child that is not mine. You understand? However, due to the fact that our society is so patriarchal that it's a man-led society, the blame comes to the woman.
Do you know why I
And
will
it's not
never
supposed to
blame?
be so.
Let me tell you. Do you know why I will
At all.
never blame the woman?
So, Doc,
Do you know why I will never? Do you know when I will never blame the woman?
Where?
When I will never blame the woman is when she decides not to have a baby.
You mean she would have bought the baby?
Whenever she
when
take
she has
contraceptives.
No.
Yeah,
gentlemen,
understand?
I think
If she
I
actually,
think,
if she
this
actually
is a-
says
this
she's
is a
not
very-
having
this is
a
very
baby,
broad
that
topic,
should
and
be
I know some
that.
of us are passionate with our positions and opinions, and I take it that we don't have a collective opinion in this platform. Whatever thing we put out here is our individual views and opinion. Doc, I appreciate your technical expertise and how passionate about this issue. And Barrister, thank you for bringing the legal angle to it as well. And I think this discussion is not over yet. It's not over.
It's not over because dog is an expert in all these female.
we continue to dig deeper and deeper until we arrive at the consensus of what should be done